I wasn't going to address this because I'm not trying to let nobody trick me off the streets. But I never folded, never told.
Big Meech just got hit with some heavy allegations. And the evidence? Well, it's making waves all over the internet. When 50 Cent dropped those documents, he implied that Meech might have been cooperating with the feds. Naturally, the digital world erupted. But that leads to a bigger question. Where's 50 pulling all this supposed proof from? Word on the street is he's got some old black mafia family insiders spilling secrets left and right, trying to prove something to someone. And here's the kicker. Folks are whispering rumors, asking questions, but Big Meech isn't playing along. If anything, he's gearing up to send a loud, clear message to 50 about how real bosses handle insults. This isn't just some social media spat. It's a serious hit to street credibility, and Meech's legendary status is at stake. Adding fuel to the fire, 50's known for sparing no expense to put people on blast. When he sets his sights on someone, he goes all in. But this time, he might want to rethink his strategy. Meech isn't just some local hustler. He's Demetrius Big Meech Flannery, a name that resonates across the country. What's about to happen next might just redefine the way these two heavyweights settle their scores. Back in the day, Meech and his younger brother, Terry Southwest T. Flannery, made serious moves. They started out flipping 50-bag bundles, but by the early 2000s, they'd built a nationwide empire. From Michigan to Georgia, Florida to California, and even Louisiana, everywhere you looked, they had weight moving. That kind of reach didn't go unnoticed. Soon enough, the feds were keeping a very close eye. To keep their operation under wraps, Meech and Terry launched VMF Entertainment. On the surface, it seemed like just another legit promotion company, but behind the scenes, that's where the cash flowed and the books got cleaned. But here's where it gets interesting. VMF Entertainment wasn't all for show. They actually had an artist on the roster, Blue Da Vinci. In 2005, he even dropped a full album, The World is BMF's. The tables turned, though, in October 2003. That's when the feds closed in on Meech, dragging him from his high roller lifestyle straight into a cell. Back then, rumors spread fast, and many started blaming Blue, saying he was the one who broke the code. Why? Because out of everyone involved, he was the one who seemed most likely to fold. Remember, Blue Da Vinci didn't even get picked up when the feds took down the rest of the BMF crew. In 2003, when they swooped in and nabbed Meech, Blue somehow managed to stay out of the dragnet. By 2004, though, things got even more heated. Dexter Sosa Hussey, the man behind BMF's logistics, started calling Blue out, and not just through street gossip. He put it all on record. Here's the kicker. Blue's own lawyer let the truth spill in court. He told the judge straight up, "Your Honor, I forgot to mention something earlier. You asked which defendants tried to cooperate, and Mr. McKnight, Blue, was one of them." The lawyer explained that Blue sat down with the government, but his intel wasn't worth much. Turns out, Blue didn't know anything that could actually hurt the other defendants. And it wasn't like this was new info. The lawyer admitted that Blue's so-called debriefing happened months earlier. Then he added that Blue had even done a safety valve session just that week, a clear sign Blue was willing to talk. But the problem, Blue didn't have anything juicy. He tried to cooperate, but what he brought to the table wasn't worth the feds' time. So yeah, Blue attempted to flip, but the feds weren't buying what he was selling. So the big question loomed, if Blue didn't provide the key intel, who did? And that's when things took a shocking turn. For years, Blue's name had been tarnished as the one who snitched. But in 2023, during an explosive interview with Cap Capone News, Blue shattered that narrative, unveiling the real individual who spilled the beans. Enter Tammy Cowens. Tammy wasn't just any associate. She'd been Meech's business partner as far back as 2008. After Meech went behind bars, Tammy stayed involved, maintaining contact and running errands for him. Meech trusted her so much that he granted her control over his life rights. That's right. He gave her the legal authority to tell his life story, effectively giving her a powerful platform to shape his legacy. Tammy leveraged that opportunity, teaming up with 50 Cent to co-produce the popular 2021 series BMF. The project was a massive success, turning Meech's story into a profitable venture. But here's the bombshell. The documents Blue revealed claimed Tammy wasn't just focused on TV deals. Allegedly, she was also a confidential source for the feds. In those leaked files, Tammy is identified as CS1, a DEA informant out of Atlanta. The paperwork suggests she started collaborating with federal agents in 2009. And what did she hand over? The information Tammy provided played a crucial role in unraveling a money laundering case that ultimately landed Terry White, a major player, behind bars. This wasn't just some small-time bust. Terry White was a serious figure, and Tammy's cooperation helped bring him down. Here's the kicker. At the time, Tammy wasn't even receiving compensation for her involvement. But after her tip led the DEA to Terry White, they started to see her potential value. Agent Harsh, the DEA handler working with Tammy, filed paperwork to secure her a reward, a percentage of the value of the assets seized from White's operation. And if you know anything about these cases, those assets weren't just pocket change. We're talking high-end cars, stacks of cash, luxurious homes, and more. The truly bizarre part? Tammy wasn't the typical informant. She wasn't broke, scared, or trying to cut a deal for a lighter sentence. She had no criminal record, no substance issues, and wasn't on the run from any charges. Even the feds noted how unusual she was in their paperwork, calling her one of the most unexpected sources they'd ever encountered. So, what pushed her to cooperate? Pure revenge. Apparently, Terry White had been using Tammy to launder money without her knowledge. When she discovered the truth, she wasn't about to let herself be played. She turned the tables and made sure that anyone who tried to manipulate her paid the price. For Tammy, this wasn't about cash or cutting deals. It was personal, a calculated move for revenge. But here's the twist. Why did Tammy keep talking after Terry White was already locked up? That's where things start to connect. While all of this was unfolding, Big Meech was working on a bold plan of his own, from behind bars. While serving his sentence, Meech met a cartel operator named Fidel Suarez. Suarez wasn't some small-time hustler. He ran a trucking company in California and had been on the feds' radar more than once. Investigators had already arrested him twice, once in 2005, then again in 2009, on serious trafficking charges. But both times, Suarez walked, leaving the authorities empty-handed. Meech saw an opportunity. If he could tap into Suarez's pipeline, he figured he could keep his operation running smoothly, even while locked up. The money would keep flowing, and his influence wouldn't wane. But there was a major hurdle. He needed someone on the outside to help set things in motion. That's where Tammy stepped in. By September 2011, according to official documents, Meech contacted Tammy, referred to as CS1, to help arrange the delivery of a load through Suarez. By then, Suarez and Tammy were already in touch. In fact, the paperwork shows that Suarez had even reached out to Tammy before, just to ask how Meech was doing behind bars. What started as a simple check-in call turned into a major operation. With Tammy in the loop, Meech set her up as the go-between, connecting Suarez to his longtime associate Dion "Cuffy" Gatling. Cuffy wasn't a small player either. He headed the Gatling Trafficking Organization, a group that controlled the St. Louis supply line from 2009 to 2014. Together, Meech, Suarez, and Cuffy were on the verge of moving large quantities of product across multiple states. But there was a problem, a major one. Tammy, while playing the role of loyal go-between, was secretly reporting everything to federal agents. Her cooperation handed law enforcement the evidence they needed. On March 13, 2014, the feds arrested Cuffy, charging him with drug trafficking and firearm violations linked to a fatal deal. He was sentenced to 27 years in prison. And yet, somehow, Meech walked away without a single indictment. Despite evidence of his involvement, he avoided prosecution. The shocking twist? Tammy lied under oath to shield Meech. In court, when questioned about a key part of the reports, paragraph 8, which stated that CS1 Tammy told investigators Demetrius Flannery had orchestrated distribution deals, Tammy denied it. When Tammy was put on the spot about the arrangement between Suarez and Gatling, she stood firm. She denied everything, flat out refused to implicate Meech. Even when asked if Meech had any involvement in coordinating the multi-kilo cocaine shipments through her, she didn't flinch. Tammy backed him all the way, showing no hesitation, but that loyalty came at a cost. The feds quickly grew suspicious. They realized Tammy was no longer a trustworthy source. And here's where the situation spiraled. It came out that Tammy was involved with one of the DEA agents working the case. That's right. She was having an affair with an investigator, a relationship that ultimately undermined the integrity of the entire operation. Tammy had ventured into treacherous territory, manipulating every angle, but her intricate web of schemes began unraveling. By March 2015, things reached a tipping point. Tammy discovered that Gatling's legal team had filed a suppression motion. This motion threatened to reveal her identity as the confidential informant, and the mere possibility sent her into a full-blown panic. The stakes were incredibly high. Gatling wasn't just any drug dealer, he was a known figure with a dangerous reputation. Official records linked Gatling to ordering a murder back in 2010, making the risk to Tammy all the more real. When Tammy saw that suppression motion, she knew her time as a secret source was running out. She reached out to the DEA and begged them to keep her name hidden. But by then, the damage was done. Gatling's lawyers were all over the inconsistencies in the case, from the mishandling of evidence to the questionable motives of certain agents. Tammy's affair had left a trail, and now the defense was starting to pick it apart. In court, it became clear that the case against Gatling had cracks. The once solid narrative of a tight drug network started to fall apart. The defense argued that the evidence gathered from Tammy's cooperation was tainted, and the prosecution was forced to rethink its strategy. Tammy, once seen as a key informant, was now a liability. The DEA began distancing themselves, and the court proceedings grew increasingly messy. By the time the trial wrapped up, the fallout was undeniable. While Gatling still faced heavy charges, the details of Tammy's involvement left a stain on the case. It raised questions about the methods used and the reliability of confidential sources. In the end, Tammy's actions, her affair, her denials, and her behind-the-scenes maneuvers turned what should have been a straightforward prosecution into a courtroom drama. Howard's fate was sealed after he dared to testify against Gatling's brother and his crew. The message was clear: betrayal wouldn't be tolerated. By 2013, Gatling was tied to yet another hit, this time on Terrence Morgan, who'd been preparing to cooperate with federal investigators. Gatling made sure Morgan never had the chance. Given that track record, Tammy had every reason to be terrified. If Gatling ever found out she was the source of the information flowing to the feds, there's no doubt he'd silence her permanently. Panicked, she begged the authorities for protection. They turned their backs on her. Desperate, Tammy sought help from the one person she thought might shield her, Big Meech. But Meech wasn't interested. Despite all her years of loyalty, he made it crystal clear he didn't want his name dragged into the chaos. He wasn't about to risk his reputation or his safety over Tammy's situation. That meeting was a dead end, leaving Tammy feeling abandoned by the very person she'd been protecting for years. Frustrated and out of options, Tammy decided to take control. She started working overtime to scrub Meech's name from the case. In her desperation, she accused the DEA agent she'd been involved with of jealousy, claiming he resented her connection with Meech. Then she threatened to release an unsworn affidavit to everyone connected to the case: lawyers, judges, everyone. In that affidavit, she fired back against statements made in the wiretap affidavits, specifically denying that Meech had orchestrated the deal between Gatling and Suarez. Tammy didn't hold back. She claimed that Agent Chroma, the same DEA agent she'd been involved with, only dragged Meech's name into the mess out of pure jealousy. He didn't like how close she was to Meech, she said. But no matter how many accusations Tammy threw around, it wasn't enough to save her from the fallout. Once Cuffy got locked up, it didn't take long for him to piece together exactly who had snitched on him. Once he figured it out, the game changed. Cuffy filed for a Franks hearing, a move that forced everyone involved, agents and informants alike, to take the stand and face the music. That included Tammy, and the dominoes kept falling. By 2024, Blue Da Vinci sat down for yet another interview with Cap Capone, but this time, he wasn't alone. Cuffy himself called in from prison to tell his side of the story. Cuffy didn't pull any punches. He claimed Meech had played the system masterfully. Meech used others to cooperate on his behalf, keeping his own hands clean even as his associates took the heat. According to Cuffy, that's why Meech never faced charges. And in the streets, it's a simple rule: hang out with a known informant, and your reputation will take a hit, no matter how solid you think you are. That's just how it goes. So why's all this coming up again now? Cuffy pointed to one name: 50 Cent. Once 50 started dropping his 2 cents, the internet lit up. People might love or hate him, but when 50 speaks, people tune in. And here's the kicker: 50's not done talking. 50's promising to unleash a full tell-all that'll blow the lid off every questionable move Meech ever made. He says it's all coming out. Proof, in his words, that Meech played both sides and worked with the feds. But here's the big question: is Meech truly guilty? Or is this just another one of 50's high-profile stunts to stir the pot and keep his name buzzing? One thing's for sure: the streets are watching, and this drama is far from over.